Right now, we continue to follow breaking news. Police are providing an update. Let's take you live to Brampton.
Good afternoon. Shortly after 8:30 this morning, Peel Regional Police responded to the area of Sudley and Finegan Lane in the city of Brampton for reports of shots fired. Patrol officers arrived on scene, commenced life-saving efforts of a 30-year-old male suffering from gunshot wounds, who sadly was pronounced deceased on scene despite the best efforts of Peel EMS and responding officers. Information at the time is limited, but what I can tell you is that investigators have identified a vehicle of interest, a 2020 Honda Civic, four-door, red in color with gold trim and gold handles. Of particular note at the front of that vehicle is a yellow racing strap, the front right of the vehicle bumper, and the license plate associated to that vehicle is DAPK 152. That's Delta Alpha Papa Kilo 152. Again, this investigation is in its infancy and information is limited, but I'll take some questions.
Constable, we see that the body's on the porch there with the tarp on top of it. Is that where the shooting took place? Or do we know if the victim kind of came running out into the CPR's administration?
Right. So there is a vehicle on scene. It's unclear at the moment whether the victims associated with the vehicle or the residents in question, but at this point it appears that the shooting occurred outside.
In terms of suspects, I know that the initial suite said suspects with protection for more. Do we know how many people?
All right, so right now the working theory is more than one suspect, okay? That is subject to change. Again, the occupants of that vehicle of interest, the red Honda Civic, should be considered armed and dangerous at this point. If members of the public do come across that vehicle, we urge you to please not approach and dial 911.
Do you know at this point if the suspects were known to the victim at all?
No, that will all be part of the forthcoming investigation, whether or not the suspect or suspects and the victim were known to one another. At this time, based on the totality of the information available to us, we can consider this to be an isolated incident to this victim, and we don't believe that this is a random shooting. Whether or not the victim is the intended target, that will come out in the forthcoming investigation, but we should assure the general public outside this area that there's no further risk.
Given the time of day, it was around 8:30, so there's lots of kids, parents out. There should have been a lot of people who maybe potentially saw something. Do you have witnesses who are cooperating with police?
Right, so there are several investigators here on the scene that are conducting residential canvasses for surveillance footage or any witnesses, and there are several cameras that are visible here. We are appealing to residents in the area. If you do have home surveillance footage, please retain that footage, as our investigators will continue to canvass into today and in the coming days. Also, for motorists that were driving in the vicinity in and around 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., if you have dash cam footage, please have a look at that. Again, we're looking for a red Honda Civic 2020. That vehicle is on file as stolen. Of particular note on that vehicle, again, I'll mention, is the yellow racing strap at the front and chrome handles and trim.
So the vehicle is stolen. Does that mean that there's a possibility that the suspects here stole the vehicle and then committed the crime?
Right. I mean, that's all what will be part of the investigation. It's not uncommon that vehicles are stolen to use in the commission of an offense, but that will be as part of the main investigation.
But right now, the vehicle is listed as stolen.
Currently, the vehicle is stolen, yes.
You said the victim was 30, did I hear that correctly?
Male in his 30s, yes.
Male in his 30s. This is a family neighborhood. Was there anyone else in the vicinity in that time who could have been in danger at that moment?
Well, listen, anytime we have someone being shot at in the vicinity, we know all too well from past incidents that bullets don't always go where they are intended. There were people in the vicinity, folks that called into 911 to report the shooting. Inherently, they are in danger just by being present when gunfire takes place. Fortunately, nobody else was struck.
Constable, how much more of a concern is it the fact that, never a good time for this to happen, but particularly 8:30 morning, residential neighborhood, kids are on the way to school. I mean, this could have been much worse.
Right. A shooting at any time is concerning and just completely unacceptable. When we see it during daylight hours, it is more brazen because there are more people out. There are more potential for witnesses. So that all speaks to some of the motives behind what happened, and that will come forth with the investigation.
Kind of expanding on that, I mean, again, in this neighborhood, victim in that age range. Is there a family? Is there anything you can tell us more about this victim? Is there a family who's mourning the loss of a loved one here today?
Well, I mean, someone out there is going to be mourning the loss of this victim. The particulars to the family, we won't get into that right now. It's still pretty early.
But do we know if there were other people in the house at the time?
That I don't know. Thank you.
Sorry, Constable, what was your last name again?
All right, that is the very latest from Peel Police, updating the media after a fatal shooting in Brampton. This happened in the Mississauga Road and Wanless Drive area. A man was shot and killed. They have now identified a vehicle of interest, a 2020 red Honda Civic. There's no other information on suspect or suspects. Police do say this was an isolated incident, and they also say they're working to identify whether or not this was a targeted or random shooting.